Hey everybody, Alpaglisi Trains. If it looks like I didn't get much sleep and I haven't shaven, it's because I was up last night super late with a friend, tearing apart part of the town of Winston to correct a major mistake I made. And I don't want you to make the same mistakes if you're beginning to build a layout, or even if you are building a layout and you haven't gotten along too far with it. Don't make the same mistake I made. I'll share it with you. Let me show you. It's called aisle width, okay? Aisle space. I have a lot of scenery that falls almost to the floor. Some parts go almost to the ceiling. And as you walk into the town of Winston, and you can see the mess starting, this aisle that you're looking at here is a barely 24 inches from one end to the other. And you can't turn around in here. If more than one person is in here in operations or visiting, people have to back all the way back out to get out of here. And then you can get back in. It's a nightmare. And why did I do that? Oh, I thought in my infinite wisdom, well, if I come out another 20 inches, I can put a log pond in. And I can put a big pulpwood mill here. And what can I do on this tunnel? I'll make an S-curve so that I can swing out this way and come back in and have a wider radius in the tunnel. Boy, was that a mistake, because an S-curve, if it can be avoided, should be avoided. I've had nothing but trouble inside this tunnel with derailments. I should have picked up the curve where you see it and made a straight shot, hugging along this, all the way back to connect to the main line here. So what I'm going to do is all of this is getting cut out. All of it. All the way across is going to be cut out all the way across. It's going to open up a tremendous amount of aisle space. We're going to move the main line in. I'm going to lose this programming track, which is no problem. I can move it somewhere else. We're going to move the tunnel portal way over, repair that hole in the scenery, and it will give us a tremendous amount or more room that we desperately need in here for aisle space. It's not a simple task. I've got to break loose this rock that goes down about 3 feet, and I've got to rip up the track. And I've got wiring underneath this track. I'm going to need to label where all the pickup wires are. So when I remove the track and I am ready to rewire, I know where every wire goes. I need to relocate some of the North Coast plug-ins. Even though I am wireless, I still like to have some plug-ins. And then cut the table out, and I'll probably cut out these rock castings and go with a stone embankment across here to pick up more room. Well, here's the modified town of Winston, and now you can see the most obvious thing that you can see now is the S-curve that used to be over here. It used to be on the left here, is gone, and it's a straight shot. The tunnel porthole used to be over here, about 14 inches to this direction over here, has now been moved about 14 inches over to the right. So I've picked up an unexpected amount of room, because I used to have a big pond in this area here. Big pond I thought I'd need for a pulpwood mill facility. Well, I've lost the pond to pick up aisle space, but I still have room for a pulpwood mill facility, which is why this siding sits here. This is the main line. This is the freight main line. This is the passenger and fast freight main line. And of course, connected to the main line is the pulpwood siding for the pulpwood facility, which I'm going to use the pulpwood facility that was at Spruce, West Virginia. It's part of the Greenbrier, Cheaton, Elk River Railroad. It was located in a town called Spruce. This town is called Winston, but the pulpwood mill is the pulpwood mill at Spruce, and that's what's going to sit right here. and it's going to give me a lot of operations because the whole layout runs around my big mill and cast. The whole layout, the purpose of the layout is to feed that big mill. So the pulpwood comes from the Pulpwood Facility in Winston, gets the pulpwood cars on the main line, takes them down to the mill at Cass, and then when the pulpwood cars are picked up at the mill at Cass, and there's empty pulpwood cars at the mill at Cass, all the empties come back to the future mill that sits here and get swamped out for full pulpwood cars ready to go back to the cast mill. So it's going to add a lot of operations to this. And you might think here, the old aisle, very narrow, was here, from here to here, not even 2 feet. Well, I've picked up about another foot moving this way. And you might say to yourself, well, what is that hole coming out of that mountain? Well, I'm thinking of doing a waterfall there. And it's an exercise in imagination, fantasy. I know they never had waterfalls like this, and obviously Mount Rushmore was never in West Virginia, but it is on my layout. And I thought, what would be cooler than to have an incredible waterfall and Mount Rushmore, and it gives cause for more operations, because you're going to need to have tourists coming here, and you're going to need here in this empty space a larger train station for the town of Winston for the tourist. And then where do the tourists stay? Well, they stay at the lodge in Winston. This is a Howard Zane inspired design. As you know, I'm working with Howard, and this was a Howard Zane inspired lodge that I built, lodge at Winston for the tourists. So I didn't have to get rid of these rock castings. I thought I'd have to put up a stone wall there, but they stay. And again, this is still a work in progress. I still need to put in more trees. I still need to continue the flocking, add some additional trees. You can see a bare spot between the left side and the right side of the tunnel portal. Need some more trees, need some more flocking. And of course, the next big step is the bridge, because the logging line stops here, and I'm going to need a large timber trestle or some type of truss bridge to get me across to the other side where it hooks up, goes behind the lodge at Winston, goes downgrade into the town of Winston, where there will be a sawmill facility over there and a 2-stall engine house here. This lumber mill is in the process of being lengthened somewhat and changed around. And log loading. Empty log cars will be brought here so that loaded log cars can be picked up and brought down to the mill at Cass. Now, obviously, I talked about a new spot for a future railroad station at Winston. The old railroad station that we were using is a much smaller facility, and that is right here. And I will turn that into a barbecue for the employees. So there's a lot going on. It's a work in progress. Picked up the aisle space, not a whole lot, but enough. And I want to thank you for watching the channel. And if you like what you see, please hit the subscribe button, because the more people that subscribe, the more YouTube will push out the channel. Thanks so much for watching, and stay tuned for more work on my railroad, the Pugsburg Railroad.